Respected seniors and friends, wellness cannot be completed without sex. Sex is an integral part of everybody's life. We are all the side effect products of sex. But sex comes with a pleasure, sex comes with some side effects. One of the side effects is certainly is HIV, which has been upblowing in the country. What we have with us is one of the pioneers of HIV medicine in India. I mean, the father of HIV medicine in India, put it like that. Call him as the Sachin Tendulkar of HIV medicine in India, put it like that. The way you want to put it, the way you want to mess with it, but fact remains the same. He was the first person to recognize HIV-2 in India along with the German labs. He was the first person to initiate HIV treatment without discrimination in the country. He was the first person to recognize HIV-1 type C along with German viral labs. As far as the list of award goes, I mean, it will be till evening. I can read out the number of awards he has received overseas. A few awards. He has received a Lifetime Achievement Award from HIV Congress 2008, Lifetime Achievement Award from the Cuticon, from the Dermacon 2011, the Professor Ratan Singh Award during the 39th National Conference of IDVL. Moreover, he is recognized as a top 150 doctors of India, that is AIDS provider. One of the topmost legendary man of India. He presently has seen more than 90,000 patients of HIV. He is currently having more than 23,000 patients of HIV under his control. His main focus is now to prevent mother-to-child transmission, and which he has done perfectly very well, and almost has bring down that elimination. I mean, if you are having a discordant couple, one is HIV positive or the other is HIV negative, the end product would be HIV negative. He has ensured that, and he has taken more than thousands of lectures all over the country, all over the world, and educated n number of doctors who are practicing in this field. Firstly, I like everybody to clap for him, to stand for him. He is a legendary man. Please, थोड़ा सा अपना ओबेसिटी कम करिए, उसके लिए खड़े होकर ताली बजाना जरूरी है. He is someone special. You may take your seat. I'll request our chairpersons, Dr. S.C. Agarwal. A brief. Dr. S.C. Agarwal started the first private dermatological clinic of Kanpur, and we all must be proud that the dermatology has shaped, dermatovenerology branch has shaped because of him. He was the first person to initiate the private practice in Kanpur. I'd like to call upon Dr. S.K. Gautam, who is an associate professor of Medical College Kanpur. He is very much keen interested in HIV/AIDS, and always, you know, we sometimes have a talk regarding this subject, and we mutually share the understanding. Before it gets too late for everybody, for the legendary talk, I'll welcome Dr. J.K. Maniyar to please come on the stage and give your 30 years of experience, the gains and losses HIV epidemic in India. Please, everybody. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. Good morning, friends. I'll try to see that I can speak in Hindi in between. No problem at all. And first thing is, my high gratitude and thanks to the organizer for having me been given a platform to speak before you and share with you my experience in the field of HIV medicine. It's not 30 years, it's 33 years now. In 1986, June 10, I started my handling HIV patients. I'm a clinician, and It's a big challenge to manage HIV patient, and please try to understand the resistance that I faced because of the discrimination that prevailed a lot years ago. The issues are, what's the global problem? It's there all over the world. It's not only a problem of Central Africa, it's a problem of our own country also. I don't know much about our neighboring countries, but our own countries have its own problem of HIV patients, and what you see is the kind of underreporting. Not everybody, it's not a notifiable disease. It's not a disease that you should compulsorily notify when it becomes the private sector. In a public sector, yes, they are all notifiable, and that's how you see the figure coming out by Government of India. None of my 90,000 patients have been reported to the Registry of India at all. So let's not worry on that. And the biggest issue is how do one get HIV? Today, by all elimination technique, the commonest route of transmission of HIV is sexual. Whatever it is, it's sexual. Heterosexual transmission more common than the gay sex, then more common than the transgender sex. And don't forget one thing, it's a disease initially when I saw was a disease of youth between 25 to 35. It's not so now. You see a lot of people less than 25, a lot of people who are 50, 60, 70 are being reporting now. It's a big disease, it's a challenge. And what you see is previously I saw male to female ratio, 9 male, 1 female. Today it's not so. Lots of female patients I see. The ratio is 3 male, 1 female. The biggest issue, like any other diseases in this country or any other in the world, is late presentation. People present less. Like any other chronic disease, the diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity, dyslipidemia, people present late. And that's the biggest challenge when you start managing patients. The other issues are, many of the people significantly do not know that they have HIV, though they are suffering from HIV. People, I'm sure number of people don't know they are hypertensive, number of people don't know they are diabetic. So, or number of people don't know they have a lipid issue. But the issues are there are more than 40% of people in India who are HIV positive, but they don't know their status. The biggest issue now we are facing is a lot of adolescents, a lot of young people who are in increasing number coming out for HIV treatment. The biggest problem in HIV is how do the people present? The biggest problem is PO. Remember, somebody having fever for more than 3 or 4 weeks is one of the presentation. That's how the HIV people present too. There are several other presentations which I've listed here in the graph. Commonest disease that is responsible for the fever or commonest disease that you see in HIV patient is tuberculosis. Remember, tuberculosis is one of the commonest disease that you see amongst the patients who are HIV positive. Like syphilis, it's a multi-system disease. The HIV does not affect one system. Almost every system of the body is involved, and one has to really be aware when you start treating HIV. I'm sure Dr. Gautam must agree with me that it's really a multi-system issue, and one has to be very agile doctor when you start dealing with HIV patients. The different kinds of scenarios that you see, I'll run through fast. You see different kinds of tuberculosis, the huge spectrum of tuberculosis that you will see or come across, and one has to be very careful when to order for HIV test. Do you screen every TB patient for HIV? I wouldn't say yes, not at all. I think you need to see the patient, need to talk to the patient, and then make a decision whether you like to screen the patient for HIV. The pulmonary TB, yeah, not bad, but more common is extrapulmonary TB in HIV patients. And this is what you see. You can even see pericardial effusion, you see miliary TB, you see a gland TB. There are different types of glands. They look like a cancer. It's not a lymphoma. These are all tuberculous lymphadenopathy of various nature you see in HIV patients. Then what else you see is abdominal TB. Lots of patients have abdominal lymph node enlargement. liver TB, splenic TB, intestinal TB, and the extrapulmonary TB is more common than the pulmonary TB. Here is a patient you see has a cold abscess on a sternum and a herpes zoster scar that is very highly suggestive that this patient is most likely to be HIV positive. In countries like India, where tuberculosis is very common, do we do Mantoux test? I said yes. In HIV patient, you must do Mantoux test because the Mantoux test positive indicates that your patient has a latent tuberculosis in HIV setting. Then the treatment for TB should not be DOT therapy anymore. All the DOT therapy program in HIV setting is not valid. You need to give treatment for minimum 9 months if you have pulmonary TB. And you have what is called an extended tuberculosis treatment. The side effects due to TB drugs are very commoner in a patient who are HIV positive. You also see good number of MDR TB. The commonest cause of death in an HIV patient, if you do not receive antiretroviral therapy, will be disseminated tuberculosis. In a patient of HIV who has tuberculosis, if you start anti-TB drugs, then it has lots of benefit. It improves survival of the patient, it improves TB treatment outcome, it reduces the infectiveness of the patient, or recurrences. So I think that every patient having tuberculosis with HIV needs to be ultimately started with anti-tuberculosis medicine, antiretroviral therapy. Oral candidiasis, another common manifestation you see in HIV is esophageal candidiasis and oral candidiasis. I think you need to be suspicious when you see these pictures, and if you see them in your practice, you need to think of screening patient for HIV. That's what my aim here is. Then come oral hairy leukoplakia. This is another oral manifestation of HIV, and this is a disease caused by Epstein-Barr virus. It's a benign disease. It's a disease which is an important marker of HIV. Herpes zoster is one of the biggest marker of HIV, and one has to be very careful when you see a patient with ophthalmic herpes zoster and think of screening patient with HIV. On your right, you see a man with oral candidiasis and herpes zoster that is itself very highly suggestive of HIV. Bilateral herpes zoster, multisegmental herpes zoster, recurrent herpes zoster, herpes simplex of genital area, perianal area. These are all marker of HIV disease. Then you see parotid enlargement. This is a young girl of 17 who both the parents are under my treatment for HIV, and this girl presents to me with a parotid gland enlargement and nothing else. She's 17, she's perfect, she's having a very good education on, and this is the first presentation of her HIV which she acquired from her mother. Pneumonia. You see different kinds of bacterial pneumonia. You see lobar pneumonia, you see extensive pneumonia. You see quite a different varieties of bacteria that causes pneumonia, and I think one needs to do a combination therapy, otherwise patient go into septicemia. The biggest pneumonia that you see in patients with HIV is PCP. Nobody in this audience ever saw PCP or pneumocystis pneumonia before HIV era, and this is one of the disease which is caused by fungus, and it's one of the commonest disease that you see in an HIV patient. This is how when you do a bronchoalveolar lavage, this is how the parasite look like, and somebody has to prove it. Not every time you are able to prove it, but more on a radiological finding, you try to treat the patient. Then you see multiple organism of polymicrobial lung disease. Now these are all something which you see in an immunodeficient person. You get a lot of diarrhea in patient of HIV, and diarrhea is not caused by Giardia or Amoeba or so. These are all different organisms: Cryptosporidia, Isospora, Cyclospora, Microspora, Strongyloides. So these are the different organisms or cytomegalovirus causing diarrhea. So diarrhea is outside one of the important presentation. You know the presentation or chronic diarrhea for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe a couple of months, and we don't think of screening the patient for HIV. Then you see hepatobiliary cholelithiasis or cholangitis and or a gallstones is as high as 60% in patients who are HIV positive. Pancreatitis. This is not alcoholic pancreatitis. This is a pancreatitis due to tuberculosis, and it can be parasitic pancreatitis. One need to be recognizing it, that you see various spectrum of diseases. And then you see histoplasmosis. This is a disease that affects lungs, skin, mucous membrane, fever. You see lymph nodes in hilar area, and it's a disseminated fungal disease. Then you see a disease called paniciliosis. Northeast area, like Manipur, Nagaland, you see quite a few people having a fever, anemia, and skin rash, and called paniciliosis, a systemic fungal disease. Leishmaniasis, very common in UP, Rajasthan, Bihar. Nowadays it is associated with HIV. Please remember, no leishmaniasis is localized. It's a systemic disease, and you see this in association with HIV. That means today, anybody you see with leishmaniasis, with fever, mucocutaneous rash, or constitutional symptoms, please screen them for HIV. Every leishmaniasis should be screened. Unlike TB, you should really, it is quite a high association. Then you see pigmentation, Addison's disease or Addisonian pigmentation. This is the definite marker that a patient has advanced HIV disease. Or you see a very aggressive skin condition called molluscum contagiosum. You see a lot of colorectal manifestations, fissure in ano, perianal abscess, and so that is a colorectal manifestation of HIV. And most of them are tubercular in origin. Then you see primary pulmonary hypertension, one of the presenting feature of HIV, and something which you have to be aware about it to screen the patient. Then you see a neurological manifestation. Nobody ever saw before HIV era toxoplasmosis of the brain. This is one of the specific disease that you see in HIV patient, and you see mononeuritis multi-site lesions, and it's easy to treat the patient. Then you see lymphoma, cancer of the brain, lymphoma of the brain as one of the important manifestations. You see a lot of meningitis, and commonest meningitis you see is fungal meningitis called cryptococcal meningitis. Then you see TB meningitis, and another disease that you see is a JC virus disease called as progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy. It's a disease which was never ever seen before HIV era. The antiretroviral therapy controls this disease. Or you see HIV encephalopathy. People have failure to recognize delirium and so on. Then you see retinitis. You see a diminished vision, either mild, moderate, severe, unilateral, bilateral, and that is because of the commonest disease that you see in HIV is the cytomegalovirus disease. Recurrent arthritis, for years, you see multiple site arthritis, and you screen the patient for HIV as one of the investigation, and you find it's the presenting feature of HIV. Then you see purpura, idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura as a presentation. Drug reaction, very severe drug reaction due to commonly used drug called Septran. And you should screen people who are severe drug reaction for HIV. And then you see avascular necrosis of the femur. Somebody who's young and for no obvious reason getting avascular necrosis of the head of the femur or avascular necrosis anywhere of the bone system or long bones, one should screen the patient for HIV. Cancer of the penis, anus, vulva, piriform fossa, mouth, cancer of any kind of orifice of the body should be screened for HIV. Lymphoma, this is the gay man, and his presentation was a lymph node, and it was a Hodgkin disease, which was the presentation of this patient. Young man, absolutely young, he's just 24. This is again a lymphoma of different type, NHL lymphoma again in a woman who was treated 10 years ago and she's now perfectly fine with lymphoma treatment and anti-retroviral therapy. They have a good prognosis. Cancer doesn't mean that you are end of your life. Then another disease which is very specific for HIV is Kaposi sarcoma. And this is a disease which is uncommon in this part of the world. It's caused by a virus HHSV8. These are the various diseases, if you see in your practice, you should screen those patients for HIV. These are what is called as the age-defining illness. These are all my own observation, and this is what is internationally accepted, that one should screen every patient of yours with the various diseases listed here for HIV. We have now treatment for now more than 20 years, and that is antiretroviral therapy. It has totally changed the outlook. It reduces morbidity, mortality, or incidence of opportunistic events. What you saw illness, they go down, have a good quality of life, a very good life expectancy, no mother-to-child transmission, no sexual transmission, and you have a good economy coming up because of antiretroviral therapy, and you have good ability back to normal. And this is what you see, that age-related deaths have gone down, the new infections gone down, the life expectancy has gone up. I think this is something revolutionary in HIV medicine. It's like blood pressure, it's like diabetes. However severe blood pressure you may have, however severe diabetes you may have, today is not difficult to control. Same way in HIV. You almost have a normal lifespan. I have a doctor who I treated 19 years ago for HIV. He operates something like 14 or 16 hours a day. He's back to normal. You can't just see the working debility at all. And then you see the antiretroviral therapy scale up. I'm sure Dr. Gautam will agree here that around 56% of the people living with HIV in this country have an access to antiretroviral therapy. I wish we have more and more people receiving these drugs. The guideline says the day you see a patient with HIV positive or detected HIV positive, treat her, irrespective of CD4 count or viral load. These are the various investigations people do. We don't go into details, but all these investigations are within the reach in both public and private sector. Unlike any other medicine or like any other specialty of diabetes or hypertension, every 1 year there are new molecules. The advancement in this field is so much that you have huge number of drugs available at your services. Better drugs day by day. And these are the various drugs. Almost all these drugs are available in India thanks to generic pharma. They're very cheap, they're affordable. The concept is changing. Initially we started treating the patient with one drug, now there are then triple drugs. Now all the triple drugs are in a single tablet, and I will tell you more on this advancement very soon. There are various drug combinations. You have to really be dedicated to this specialty to understand what combination, when to use this combination. Your first line drug, second line drug, third line drug, and so on. In spite of everything that you talk about, we have a problem of drug resistance, like we have a problem of drug resistance in tuberculosis. There are various reasons for it. I think the commonest reason is adherence. People are not well motivated. You feel better and you stop medicine. Even if the same problem is with diabetes, same problem is with hypertension, and so on. What is most important in HIV? You have a patient who has been started drugs, doing very well. The patient must follow you up regularly. He must be retained in your observation. Unless you do that, it's very difficult to predict what's really going on. People present late. That's something which is one of the commonest things. And these are the people who are good chance of dying because they're presented late. They are sometimes irreversible illness and they can die. And these are the patients who are very, very difficult to manage. And that's why they say any patient who is in a critical care or ICU, should be screened for HIV. You never know which illness is presented to. And this graph shows that people, when they present, they have a reasonably low CD4 count in many of the cases. Women and HIV. The only point to be remembered for women and HIV is the contraceptive drugs that are used by young sexually active woman is, or productive age woman is, all these hormonal contraception, they interact with antiretroviral therapy. That's why they recommend long-term depot injectable preparation as a contraception. Remember, OC pills interact and they make contraception fail if they are taken concurrently with antiretroviral therapy. Mother to child, every mother in this country, whether you are in public sector or private sector, whichever stage of pregnancy the patient present, treat the patient with HIV. At least you prevent transmission from mother to child. It's one of the biggest programs in this country. And I can assure you, we are having a high reduction in transmission rate because of the drugs available almost everywhere and anywhere. And various drugs that are used for pregnancy. Most important point now is adolescent. There are a lot of people I saw when they were children, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and now they present, they're all adolescent. They still don't know they're HIV positive, number one. Number two, the commonest reason in adolescent who are HIV positive is mother to child transmission. They got it from the mother, or they're early sexually active and they got it sexually acquired, or they're sexually abused, or they're IV drug users. Now, the biggest point is number of adults we see have single parent, a father had died or mother had died, they come to you. They want to take a carrier, they have to take antiretroviral therapy, they want to have sexuality, they want to talk about marriages. I think these are all very delicate issues. It's all possible. If you have a time, you're dedicated, you give them medication, they live a normal life. So, but to convince them off and on to see that once they feel better, they shouldn't stop medication because it's a long way to go for them. So adolescent HIV is a big issue, marriage issue, planning family and so on. Every antiretroviral therapy has a toxicity. You can see the various kind of toxicity due to various drugs. You see disfigurement, pigmentation, and you see sometimes renal injury, you see sometimes heart attack because of a drug called abacavir, or you see skin rashes, or you see gynecomastia because of the antiretroviral therapy. One has to be very aware, or you see all kind of fat deposition, obesity, fat loss, and so on. And you see sometimes osteoporosis, diabetes mellitus because of our medication. What is most important, when you give antiretroviral therapy, your patients start showing different illness because they do recover. Their immune system gets better, their CD4 count gets better. So they start showing some of the diseases because of reactivation. And this is what you see. You see herpes zoster, you see leprosy, you see tuberculosis, you see herpes simplex in a genital area, all because of immune reconstitution. And or you see progression of cytomegalovirus infection, or you see PCP pneumonia, or you see progressive multiple leukoencephalopathy, or you see hyperthyroidism because of immune reconstitution. And what else? A lot of drugs that you use in the various illness, like antihypertensive drugs or antacids or anti-TB drugs, they interact with antiretroviral therapy. So you have to know which drug interact with antiretroviral therapy, and I think this knowledge is very important. You're doing very well with antiretroviral therapy. I got patients for last now 20 years on antiretroviral. They're doing well, but they're not doing well. The reason is simpler. They have other core diseases like diabetes, hypertension, coronary artery disease. They get kind of osteoporosis, they get kidney disease, they get cognitive. So there are various comorbidities they have. They don't die of HIV, they die of comorbidities which need attention. So it has to be multidisciplinary approach. The healthcare system should be kind of coordinated. You have a drug-to-drug interaction when you start treating other comorbidities. Even simple drugs like sildenafil or pantacid or pantoprazole, they all interact with antiretroviral therapy. So this is what happens after antiviral therapy. You can get coronary artery disease, you get cancer, you get osteoporosis, as you see, cognitive disorder, renal disease, kidney disease, liver disease, and what else? I've got two patients at the moment in the hospital. It's a pulmonary embolism. Patient doing well for 10 years is one of the politician and is admitted because of breathlessness and fight pulmonary embolism. They get thromboembolic phenomena following antiretroviral therapy. Or you get cancers, different kind of cancer after antiretroviral therapy. Or you get Hodgkin lymphoma, you get myeloid leukemia. What else? Patient is absolutely fine and still losing weight, feeling weak, can't walk, falls. What's called the frailty syndrome. Very difficult to treat and patient die. Why this happens, no one knows. But this can happen. What else? Some of the new drugs that are used now, they make you weight gain. We don't know why. And then comes number of people who work in the hospital or in your medical field. They get a kind of needless injury or exposure to the body fluids of the patient, and they always request me for post-exposure prophylaxis. I'm sure, Dr. Gautam, everywhere in the public sector, in my corporate hospital that I go, we are always a pack available, single tablet available as a post-exposure prophylaxis. People get mentally so much disturbed if you don't have the post-exposure prophylaxis. They work 100%. If you take it as early as possible, as early as within 72 hours, and they work. You take it for 28 days, and it works, post-exposure prophylaxis. And there is something now pre-exposure. A lot of people want to have condom-less sexual life, so they can be given drugs. These are two combination pills available. Take the drug, you have unprotected sex, you are protected from HIV. Look at the advancement, 100% protection. There is no two opinion. You take a medication regularly and you have unprotected sex with a stranger partner, you don't get HIV. You may get STDs, but not HIV. And then comes the new story. The moment you have an antiretroviral therapy given to anybody who is suffering from HIV, he's undetectable virus load, so he does not transmit HIV. Remember, he can have unprotected relation, he can have a baby, you can conceive, and there is no problem once you have therapy taken for more than 3 months when you have undetectable viral load. Renal dialysis, every patient of HIV can undergo renal dialysis with universal precaution. I have patients who have undergone renal transplant, I have patients who have undergone liver transplant, and nowadays people talk of, instead of 3 drugs, 2 drugs. There are various potent drugs now, people talk in terms of 2 drugs. And now also people talk in terms of injectable. You have an injection of 2 drugs once in a month. Or you have an injection of long-acting drugs, implant, every 5 years. Or you have patch drugs in a patch form. So this is the biggest advancement in HIV medicine. So the lesson that we have learned is all antiviral therapies, they control viremia, they enhance immune function, they prolong your survival, you live almost a normal life. You prevent HIV transmission because of medicine. All the drugs that are available, they are potent, tolerable, convenient, increasingly available. Only problem is drug-to-drug interaction, drug resistance, cost, toxicity. You have to take it for life. It's not cured like diabetes or hypertension. But don't forget, in a couple of years, as shortly as possible, we're going to have a cure for HIV. Let's hope for, and please welcome to HIV Congress. Thank you, thank the organizer, and my congratulations to the organization for a very successful meeting. Thank you all.
Emphasized and very valuable information about the HIV, and I hope everybody is benefited. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome to come.
I request Dr. S.K. Gautam to have a word of opinion regarding this subject, regarding this topic.
Excellent deliberation by the sir, and we are very in fact lucky to have Dr. Miner with us, and always credit goes to Dr. Rahul Mishra and Dr. Praveen Katiyar. Because of them, we are listening here in the city of Kanpur. Dr. Miner has nicely explained the topic, and he almost covered the each and every aspect of the HIV, which involve the diseases like central nervous system and other co-infectious with disease like the tuberculosis, which is very much common in our country. And last 20 years, if we see that there are a lot of advancement in the field of investigations and the treatment, and sir has nicely explained each and every aspect of the topic. And if any doubts, then house is open for the question.
The house is open, sir.
Excellent work, Dr. J.K. Manyar. And for me, this was perhaps one of the concluding chapters of what I had heard first in 1986 from Professor A.N. Malviya of AIIMS. At that time, it was supposed to be an exotic disease limited only in the homosexual population. Now it is a heterosexual population of the incidence female to male 3:1. And it appears as if we have finally got the beast under control. What with once a month and maybe implantable 5-year and maybe a vaccine in future. A great work and great presentation. Thank you. Incidentally, do you know Dr. A.N. Malviya, Professor A.N. Malviya? He also developed AIDS. No, he didn't. He left AIIMS for a short time.
Yes.
Went to Middle East.
Yes.
He developed acquired income deficiency.
By the way, me and he used to go together to different part of India for sensitizing doctors for HIV.
Yeah.
So I am very brilliant guy. Thank you.
Well, his AIDS was acquired income deficiency syndrome. And once it got treated, it came back.
Yes, great. Thank you.
मैं भी हूँ।
और अब बारी है डॉक्टर मोहसिन वली की। उससे पहले कुछ अनाउंसमेंट है। इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में हम लोग डॉक्टर जेके मनियार को लाइफ टाइम अचीवमेंट अवार्ड से सम्मानित कर रहे हैं। उनसे अनुरोध है कि 10 मिनट वेट करें सर, कुछ देर में आपको हम अप्रिशिएट करेंगे। और जोरदार तालियां बजाइए डॉक्टर जेके मनियार के लिए। आप प्रेसिडेंट हैं HIV वेलफेयर सोसाइटी के और ख़ास बात क्या है, इनकी सोसाइटी देश के सभी हिस्सों में इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस कराती है HIV पे। इस बार होने जा रही है मुंबई में, ताज लैंड्स इंड में। इसके पहले भी गोवा में करा चुके हैं, जयपुर में करा चुके हैं, और मुझे लगता है कि अपने पूरे लाइफ टाइम में देश का कोई शहर नहीं छूटेगा जहां सर आपकी कॉन्फ्रेंस ना हुई हो। तो बिग क्लैप फॉर हिम। और मैं आमंत्रित कर रहा हूं डॉक्टर रीता मित्तल को, आए हैं और आगे का सेशन कंडक्ट करें।
गुड आफ्टरनून। इतनी बड़ी वेलनेस कॉन, इतने विशिष्ट स्पीकर्स, इतने विशाल टॉपिक्स, तो हाउ इज द जोश बच्चों? वेलनेस कॉन का जोश कैसा है? हाउ इज द जोश? फाइन। इसके रिस्पॉन्सिबल कौन है? हमारे डॉक्टर प्रवीण कटियार। अ बिग क्लैप फॉर डॉक्टर प्रवीण कटियार। उन्होंने हम लोगों को सबको इतना वेल कर दिया है, इतना वेल कर दिया है कि हम लोग अपने लाइफ में इस कॉन्फ्रेंस को कभी भूल नहीं पाएंगे।
हमारे बीच विश्वविद्यालय के रजिस्ट्रार आ चुके हैं। मेरा अनुरोध है कृपया मंच पे आएं और डॉक्टर JK मनियार को अपने कर कमलों से विश्वविद्यालय की ओर से लाइफ टाइम अचीवमेंट अवार्ड प्रदान करें। डॉक्टर मनियार, प्लीज कम।
जी आपको डिपार्टमेंट